We need peace, we choose freedom. We need peace, we choose freedom. There was a nation living in peace and unity. Yeah. They are people with love and harmony. Oh, yeah. They saw greatness rise up to its purity. With another people of different culture, a different heritage, bias and oppressive. Oh, I see. A nation from trigger of Africa, rising with strength and might and power. In due time, nobody gonna praise us. Rather, you all gonna embrace her. With your flag, with your flag, with your flag, with your flag. Oh, yeah. Let the tears of our mothers who lost their children be heard. Let the blood of our heroes speak from now till forever. Let the whole wide world know Biafra is our home. Oh yeah, Biafra is our home. Oh, it's my home. Yeah, Biafra is our home.
I reminisce way back 1967. Death toll on the blood couldn't count them even. Mama screaming, child squealing, pops on the ground. 2.5 years, over 3 million's gone. Why? Cause we asked for our freedom, and we're going back to our sovereign kingdom. They shut us down when we cried, the world said nothing. Sitting back in the crib, watching our suffering. Should I talk about the planes dropping shells like rain? Suka had the first taste of a hero's blood. Abaganazo Bunigwe was stronger than flood, but the juke is too strong and fought them off on the chart. Thought the bloodshed's gone, then it came again. 216 and the massacre, it started again. So bloody name, I couldn't cry tears. Blood dripping down my eyes, water in my veins. We died trying to fight the cause and we're trying to break him. It's our freedom, but the world was against us.
Wave your flag over Africa. Welcome people of Biafra. Wave your flag over all the world. See those people of Zion is here.
It is the nation that the Lord has chosen for the people of Zion. It is the nation that the Lord has chosen for the people of Zion.
We need peace, we choose freedom. We need peace, we choose freedom. Yeah. Let the tears of our mothers who lost their children be heard. Let the blood of our heroes speak from now till forever. Let the whole wide world know Biafra is our home. I see the rising sun from Africa. Oh, this is time of victory. Oh, yeah. I see future in Africa. Oh, yeah. People of Biafra. See light shining on the world. Oh, yeah.
What's that, Martin? We're not fighting each other. We know where we're going. We're going to get Biafra. There is nothing anybody can do about it. Absolutely nothing. Nothing. I need them to understand this. We've crossed the Rubicon, the point of no return. There is nothing anybody can do. If I'm alive, if I'm dead, if I'm wherever I may be, Biafra will come. If I'm dead, it's even better because it will come far more quicker. I can assure you. If Biafra is fighting for you, no one will touch your property. If you're fighting alone, you're bound to lose it. So Biafra is the best. We will become the 16th member country of ECOWAS. If Nigeria doesn't release those properties, then we'll take them to court and we'll get them back. Even twice the value. The Jews had investments all over the world. Most of the priceless artifacts and paintings belong to many families in Germany. It was stolen by the Nazi Party. Do you know that? Eventually, they got everything back with compensation on top of it. That's what we're going to do. If you touch our investments, we'll come back for you, and we'll know where we can get it from. So there is nothing for anyone to worry about. It's only if I'm not stopping you from being a Nigerian. If you are born on the streets of Lagos and you want to be a Lagosian and your name is Adamma, oh well and good. There's no problem.
Onye si na-agata anya ahụhụ ma ọ bụ na anyị ife arụsị anyị wee na-efe arụsị iwe were iwe gị na ọmụma gị wee dị alịta anyị ụmụ anyị wee na-anwụsị ụfọdụ nọ n'ụzọ ije ha anaghị alọta ụlọ ọzọ nne na nna wee na-ata ahụhụ wee na-ata ikikere eze nwaanyị konye ka ọ gaa ubi gaa rụọ ọrụ Fulani chiri ehi bata ebe ala gị n'iyi okwu ebepụ ya isi anyị pụta anyị kpọpụ onye nwe anyị n'ugwu Awụsa ahụ ejide anyị wee gbuo ihe ọ bụ anyị mara aka n'ime ha si maka ha aga n'ihu elekwa ọdụ ụgbọ mmiri n'igwe ọcha bụ ememiri ọya nke dị na Kalaba otu aka ahụ anyị na-ala nsọ ebe Biafra ebe ndị kọstọm sokonye anyị n'etiti anyị anọghị n'ime mmiri kama kọstọm jiri ebe niile ha wee na-ata anyị ahụhụ anyị kwuo ekosịpụta anyị ka kpọchie anyị kwuo ekwasịpụta anyị ka gbagbuo anyị onye nwe anyị na Chineke na nke bi n'igwe ọ bụ ụzọ dị agha ka isi na-ebu ndị iro anyị n'anya wee karịa ndị nke gị akwa anyị bụ ụmụ Chineke akwa ọba aha anyị ka anyị na-aza akwa ọba anyị nwe na-aza ike Chukwu akwa ọba anyị nwe na-aza amara Chineke akwa ọba anyị nwe na-aza Chisom akwa ọba anyị nwe na-aza Chizọba nna nke dị nsọ onye ime eluigwe dịka otu onye iro dị na anyị bụ ụmụ gị bịa ka iwe zọpụta anyị bịa ka iwe napụta anyị n'aka ọjọọ ihe bịa ka iwe lụọrọ anyị ọgụ Lucky way to zoo. Oh, go on, memory and Goliath. Chineke na nke igwe memory n'afọ. Site otu a mee ka fero ọgụgụ onye home ndị anyị ga-ebi ka o wee taa akọkọ igwe ọtọ ọsọ. Ị ga na-edu anyị n'ụzọ niile nke ezi omume. Ọ bụla adịghị na anyị na-aga ndagwurugwu onyinye ọnwụ. Ọ bụ nwa bụ ekele n'igwe n'ụwa onye ọbụla kere gị n'oge mmalite n'oge ọgwụgwụ. Kama anyị nwe anyị gwa anọkpa ahụ ofu ụbọchị anyị ga-anwụ n'ezie kama ma akọ n'okwu gị na nọgide ego mgbe ebighị ebi ọ bụ ya mere anyị ji were gị n'anya isi anyị wee na-asị nna nke dị nsọ bịa ka iwe gosi anyị Biafra na ndụ na-abụghị n'ọnwụ bịa ka iwe mee ka ebe gị na amara gị wee kpuchiri anyị ka uwe bịa ka iwe zọpụta ndị nke gị bịa ka iwe mee ka Biafra wee bịa ka anyị na-ewetụta na nsọpụrụ na ịja mma site n'aha gị onye bụ Chukwu nke abịa ma
Welcome once again this evening. We've come once again to give our evening update as always. So I want you to pay attention to information that we are about to pass this evening. As you know that a lot of trouble is ongoing in Nigeria and things are not getting better any soon. It is getting worse by day. Just when you think that everything is okay, you will see the worst of it all. While we are still mourning those who lost their life on the Palm Sunday, more attack is happening in Nigeria. And all these things are pointing to the fact that Nigeria is irredeemable. We will continue to say it until those who are supposed to listen to us. Nigeria is irredeemable. It doesn't matter how you do it, how you say it, pretend about it, ignore it. It is a truth. The more you ignore it, the more it becomes exposed. But we will continue to talk about it. Wherever you are in that contraption or outside, and you have anything to do with Nigeria, continue to pray for your people. Continue to add your voice and ask for the end to Nigeria. It's either we end Nigeria or Nigeria will end all of us. What we are asking is a peaceful disintegration of Nigeria. It is long overdue, and it must happen, whether they like it or not. Peaceful disintegration, it must happen, and we will continue to advocate for it. We will continue to call for it. We will continue to ask for it until it happens. So wherever you are watching, I urge you to like and share and make sure this information gets to others. Let's go straight into their media to hear the updates they have on what is happening in the zoo.
Kick off what's trending. Good morning, everybody. And we begin what's trending today with a tribute for those who lost their lives on a Black Palm Square, Jos, after gunmen went on an hour-long door-to-door killing spree in the community.
Result of the gunshots from yesterday. Some few people after this parodic shooting came to try, and right here they were still fired here. Now this blood you can see, this is a footwear from a woman that was shot. Yes, some of them are still in the hospital, still responding to treatment. Cattle herders and all of that, and farmers and what? It's a Kuba a ranch. You say cattle herders, you say full on this place. So why are they attacking us? You say farm, are we farmers? So summer, the government needs to look at this.
Well, may the souls of the departed rest in perfect peace. Following the attack on Sunday night, the Plateau State government had imposed a 48-hour curfew. However, citizens defied this order as they came out in their numbers to protest the killings. This prompted Governor Caleb Mufwan to come out to address the people. He arrived in an armored personnel carrier and began to address the protesters from inside it. Now, as he struggled to engage with the protesters, he eventually came out of the tank to mingle with the people and later visited those who sustained injuries in hospital.
This is a pain to all of us. It is not just for a few people. I want to plead with you. Please and please. Let's not take the laws into our hands. I want to thank you. By the grace of God, all these people will be given a decent burial. We will not allow any mass burial. We will make sure that we liaise with the families and give them a decent burial. They didn't deserve to die like this.
All right, well, let's take a quick comment, this time from Leke Leke. Honest on Leke Leke tweeted, "Our Jos story. Jos Plateau State is where I schooled. It used to be very peaceful, inspiring, good weather, beautiful hills and rock formations, rare plants, beautiful people and culture, talent hub and social skills, among others. I used to walk home very late without looking back to see if someone was stalking or going to harm me. We were like family, my Jos then. Bring back my Jos. What is your Jos story?" Well, all tied into this, meanwhile, an American missionary named Alex Barber has become a prominent part of the conversation. He first trended a few weeks ago after he clashed with the Benue state government over his plans to rebuild homes. Now, he's been on the scene in Jos, speaking out against the killings, specifically calling out President Tinubu. Barber, who operates under the NGO named Equipping the Persecuted, has become a polarizing voice, with many questioning the legitimacy of his mission in Nigeria, whilst others celebrate his advocacy. However, it drives the conversation about who the external players are where insecurity is concerned. So several moving parts. Yesterday we've taken this story and we continue to see it unfold. We're still waiting to hear a statement from the presidency with regards to this. But heartbreaking, harrowing, heartbreaking, devastating. And like I said earlier today, every Nigerian should see those pictures and watch those videos, because due to the number of attacks that we hear on a daily basis, by the way, earlier we also spoke about what happened in Kaduna State, what happened in Zamfara State. People were killed. In Kaduna, it was at a wedding. In Zamfara State, more people were killed. And so because we hear these stories, as human beings, sometimes we can become desensitized. another a group of people, then human beings become numbers. 24 people were killed, 26 people were killed. But let me talk about that woman, the most jarring perhaps image or video from the Just story so far, aside from the blood spilled on the floor, holding her son. And in disbelief, she was in shock because she was just trying to talk to him. And there's no human being that would watch that video and not be heartbroken. In fact, some people could not stomach it. But it's important so that we understand what is really going on. So we understand the extent and the depth and how bad the situation is, and we can come up with a collective voice to ask and hold our government to account. This is why we do what we do on this table, where we consistently ask that the security agencies, the security architecture, it's not working. It has failed. All the whether it's kinetic, not kinetic, unified, not unified, united, not united, it's not working. The government has failed in the area of securing the lives and properties, and there are many families that are heartbroken. I was speaking to a friend of mine whose colleague lost their cousin in the just killings, and the person was just crying at work, couldn't hold themselves. Too many families in Nigeria have been touched and affected by these killings. And so the only thing we can say, even though it sounds like a broken record, is that the government does what they're supposed to do. Their primary function, which is to guarantee and secure the lives and properties of Nigerians. And I say this, it takes the will of the government to actually tackle this problem, because it's not an insurmountable issue. It is not a problem that cannot be solved. We were talking about the president of El Salvador yesterday, who was talking about how he had transformed crime reading, with the gangs in El Salvador, and through his determination has solved the problem. So we need that kind of political will. And that's why, over the weekend, politicking was happening and people were dying in Jos. People are dying in Kaduna. People are dying in Zamfara. When will we get a government that actually responds to the needs and the sufferings of the people? That's what Nigerians are calling for at this time. But our condolences and rest in peace to those who have died in Jos. So sad. Very tragic. I know the Defense Headquarters have put out an announcement that they'll be doing a Twitter and X Spaces today to enlighten the public about kinetic and non-kinetic. So I suppose we'll tune in and find out what they have to say with regards to enlightening people and citizen engagement, which is welcome. But I think people want to see more action on the ground. Well, let's hear what they have to say for themselves. Only one person has been arrested, and that person was spewing hate speech. I need to mention that. Yes. But that's not enough. And there's a motive for this. Because people can just wake up and go into a community and begin to shoot at random. Those are the kind of things that we want to see. And what the intelligence fail, how could such an attack happen in an organized? So those are the kind of questions. It shouldn't be happening in Nigeria of 2026. Those are the questions we're asking for. It shouldn't. All right, well, we'll continue to keep tabs on this and, of course, on the situation regarding insecurity and insurgency across the country as the days go by. Now, let's turn to another story. He said, there is no country that can function without diplomats. Well, those were the parting words shared by the now former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tugar, as the curtain closes on the resignation window granted to presidential appointees with an interest in pursuing elective office. Two ministers have tendered their resignation letters, that is, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tugar, and of Bauchi State, and Minister of State for Humanitarian Affairs, Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sununu. He's from Kebbi State, and they bowed out yesterday. Whilst Sununu has resigned to pursue a senatorial seat in Kebbi State, Tugar, who hails from Gamawa local government area of Bauchi State, is largely expected to pursue his interest in the governorship of that state. He was hosted to a send-off by the ministry yesterday, and he spoke about working in a foreign affairs ministry with a smaller budget than the NYSC. Let's listen.
The NYSC budget was one of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That's how badly this place cheated. Because we lost the understanding of the importance of global policies. And this place is having to kind of incursions from different NGOs, from different holders to remain alive. And what to forget is that when we look at other countries, is there any country that functions without any sort of foreign affairs? Is there any country that functions without diplomats? Is there any country that functions without embassies? Then surely, if no country has capped all of these, I just said, okay, let's give it to other MPAs, then there must be a reason, there must be a purpose. And this is not something that just started now.
Yeah, there must be a purpose to having diplomats and embassies. Well, his resignation comes at a time when the confirmation of Nigeria's ambassador designates continues to generate conversation. Yesterday, the Ministry of Confront, the government has secured agreement for over 10 ambassador designates, and some of those countries that have accepted our ambassadors include United States, UK, France, Qatar, to name a few. I was looking for Germany on that list, but it's not yet. I haven't seen a confirmation yet. Of course, there was a lot of conversation around the appointment headed towards Germany, so we wait for that confirmation. But in the meantime, Dr. Abati, Yusuf Tugar bows out amidst conversations around his contribution to Nigeria's diplomacy efforts, foreign policy, and where we go from here.
Okay, I was saying earlier that every Minister of Foreign Affairs comes with his own idea about what should be done. During Professor Bola Yagiyemi, there was this talk about the concert of medium powers. On another minister, there was citizen diplomacy. That's Minister Kujoma Gweke, Ujuni Keke, who was talking about citizen diplomacy. But under Yusuf Tuga, he's not going without leaving something behind. Under him, we have had this talk about strategic autonomy, which is Nigeria, while relating with the world, is still, an independent country. With the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we have also had this refrain about economic diplomacy, which seems to be, the major focus of the Tinubu administration. So strategic autonomy, economic diplomacy, and then the 4Ds, democracy, development, the diaspora, and demography. Those are the four major pillars of foreign policy direction under his one. So we congratulate him. He has served his country well, and we wish him well as he seeks the governorship position in Bauchi State, which will now become vacant. Governor Bala Mohammed, having completed his 2 terms on the platform of the PDP, is going in there on the platform of the APC. The point that he was making about there is no diplomacy, no country without diplomats is true. Diplomacy is an old art because countries have to relate with each other. Since the Chinese civilization, the dawn of the Chinese civilization, you have had countries relating with each other and exchanging, relationships. Although we talk about traditional diplomacy and we talk about this transformation in the light of modern diplomacy. I don't want to be pedantic going into the details, but he's right. However, the point he made about budget, the budget of the foreign ministry being smaller than that of the NYC, is a big problem that Nigeria has had to deal with in terms of diplomacy. Some of those missions, they can't pay for electricity. Our mission in South Africa the other time, they removed the light because we could not pay. We carried our problem with electricity in Nigeria, the non-payment of this. We carried it to South Africa. Many diplomats cannot even entertain guests. And that's why solutions have been offered. Do we rationalize the missions? Do we do something? But I think that the missions should be better funded, particularly at a time when there's a lot of concern about global relations and there's a changing tide in international relations. The final point that you raised, is that now 10 countries have granted the agreement, which means that the country can now send them. But the big point to make here, which we have made at the beginning of this conversation, is that many of the ambassador designates may never even go anywhere because the government did not act early enough. And there are countries that have said a country that is going into an election, that the future of the election is uncertain, then we cannot take diplomats from there. Some countries have made that very clear.
Yes.
But the lesson to be taken away from that is that going forward, any government that comes in must know that those missions are important because Nigeria does not exist in isolation. Nigeria is part of an international community that must relate with others under the rules-based international order.
And on that point, Dr. Abati, we move to South Africa because this is again highlights the role that our foreign missions play in ensuring that Nigerians around the world are also covered and protected. The Nigerian High Commission in South Africa has refuted reports that an Igbo king was coronated in South Africa, and this is news of the alleged coronation sparked violent protests that killed one person yesterday in Kubombo in South Africa's Eastern Cape province. Chaos erupted as demonstrators led by Operation Dudula and Action SA clashed with police, who deployed stun grenades in an attempt to restore order. Shops and properties linked to foreign nationals were torched and looted. And at the heart of the unrest is a viral video and images circulating on social media showing the so-called crowning of Chief Solomon Obona Eziko as the Igbo Ndibo of Kugombo. Local traditional leaders, including Prince Tisitao, have condemned the move as a flagrant violation of the authority held by the Amalakabe Kingdom of South Africa.
We really feel undermined because there is no one who can really undermine someone's sovereignty. This is the territory of Amatosa, led by King Kululwa Sandile from the Amakakabe house, which is the right-hand house of King Palo. I'm coming from the great house of King Palo, which is the Palega house. But I am not here to represent the Palega house, but as a traditional leader who is leading the Amatole local house, I am really, really pissed off, including the membership of the house that I lead.
Very strong words there. Well, in the statement from the Nigerian High Commission, they stated, and I quote, they say it is important to emphasize that the event in East London has no territorial ambition, political authority, or agenda within the host communities. Rather, it is a symbolic affirmation of identity. The statement went on to explain that some key Igbo cultural activities and apologize for any misunderstanding caused by the event. The images, Rufai, that came out yesterday were shocking. They were heartbreaking to see Africans treating one another in such a way. Property being burned, cars were destroyed. There were flames all over the place, and this is all because South Africans were saying, we don't want Igbo people or foreigners from any African country to feel that they can install themselves locally. The Nigerian High Commission is saying, well, nobody's installing. Igbo people are just celebrating their culture.
They're just celebrating their culture. We have that thing that we do, in other parts of the world. It's not only in South Africa, where you have a head, to be able to affirm identity and celebrate your culture. But I do not think the thing is about Igbo people having the celebration. I think it's a problem with some folks, not everybody in South Africa, that perpetrate xenophobia. But I think they need some education because it's not only the case of South Africa, it's not in the case of this case that happened. You remember the beauty pageant girl?
Yes.
Additional that came here, and what happened anyway? Unscrupulous backstory happened. But the backlash she got, the other xenophobe Africa, but I think we need to educate them. And for the benefit of not all South Africans, because they appreciate what we did, but some rabid South Africans. Newsflash. Thabo Mbeki lived in 1004 estate here. During the apartheid, you guys ran to us for help, and we accommodated and we helped. We use our money and our hard-earned resource to help you fight. We fought the West because of you people. I remember the likes of my kingsman, Adifo was part of us, was the federal foreign minister in the 70s then, that ensured that there was a protest against BP. There was a blockade against BP because of the plight of the people in South Africa. whereby people donated money in schools here for the struggle. The likes of Thabo Mbeki and the guys in the activism movement then used to come and sit in the office of the Guardian to bring their stories so that their stories would be published on the Guardian and other newspapers here. In fact, Thabo Mbeki was taken on a foreign delegation. I think it was a Commonwealth event, went with the Nigerian delegation. That's how much brothers we were. And I think this education is necessary for the rapid South Africans, not all of them. A lot of them understand these things and they appreciate the relationship we shared over the years. But for the rapid ones that want to, remove other African brothers, we suffered for what you enjoy today. We shed tears and blood and resource. And I think this should make us live in unity and harmony. Please. And this for the rapid ones. Not all South Africans. A lot of them understand this.
Okay, what we face here is the dilemma of Afrophobia and xenophobia in South Africa. You recall that there was even a time they were saying foreigners could not go to South African hospitals.
Yes.
And it's not just Nigerians. People from Zambia, even from Zimbabwe,
yes,
where your president now is trying to perpetuate himself in office till the year 2030 by changing the constitution. Now, so it's a problem of what we call in the literature memory, forgetting, and remembrance. Many of these new generation South Africans, they do not remember. They lack the memory of how the rest of Africa supported them during the anti-apartheid struggle and helped to fight collectively. But it is also a commentary on how black South Africans have been treated by the ruling ANC after they gained their freedom. So they feel that their anger should be taken out on people from other parts of the world. And Nigerians are particularly notorious. In one of the segments of the narration, they said Nigerians like South African women too much. And that in itself became a problem in one of the protests before that. And they're taking over businesses. Nigerians are very enterprising people. However, to summarize, to save time, the Nigerian High Commission has done very well by providing an explanation to say that Nigerians are very strong about identity and culture. They mentioned something called Mount. They mentioned something called Irij, which is a New Yam Festival, and they also mentioned something about masquerade. And that wherever Nigerians are, whether they are Igbo or Yoruba, they try to sustain their identity, and that this does not mean a threat to the Amarabe Kingdom in Eastern Cape. So I think they did well,
yes,
just to douse tension. But we also hope that the South African government will intervene and be more accommodating of persons from other parts of Africa. And then, of course, let other Africans also provide an enabling environment in their countries so that there isn't this drift towards South Africa where there seems to be some level, of attraction for persons looking for better opportunities.
Yes, absolutely. That is it. I think they do say that when there's a competition for resources, one of the first things that emerges is otherism. We start to look at other people. We're seeing it in the US, in the UK. Everybody is starting to become nationalistic and want to make sure their own people are taken care of first. It's not right, but it is a reflection of economic challenges.
Why didn't they do it to the white nationals?
Sorry?
Why didn't they do it to the white
They have
nationals?
started in Cape Town. They have, yes, they have. But correct, Afrophobia is becoming a major problem in South Africa. In fact, the issue with South Africa is what even coined the term Afrophobia, which is a racism towards your fellow African. Well, let's now turn our attention to local politics. As Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso yesterday formalized his move to the African Democratic Congress amongst a sea of red Kwankwasia caps flanked by Peter Obi. The highly anticipated moment sparked a call for #Pitakwa2027, as social media also erupted with excitement over the possibility of an Obi Kwankwaso 2027 ticket. Musician Tijani Gandu was also present at the rally, and he led the crowd who sang. And this is a song which speaks metaphorically about. With us to make sense of all of this, we have Prince Francis Chilaka, who is a political and public affairs analyst and commentator. We also have joining us virtually today, Elvis Elimehele, is a political and public affairs analyst and commentator. We will also be joined from our Benin studio by Comrade Curtis Ogebo, who is a founder and national coordinator of Freedom Ambassadors Organization. He's also a political and affairs analyst and commentator. Later on, we'll be joined by Barrister Clem Agui from our Orca studio. Prince Chikala, let's just start with you. The videos, the photos from the Just incident is really heartbreaking. And it seems as though we keep running around the circles, keep saying the same thing. What can we do? And just yesterday, we saw a video of the Plateau State governor go address his people, and he was speaking from inside an armored personnel, carrier. What does this say? And he's asking the people to calm down.
You know, I'm laughing. Interestingly, the governor of Plateau State, who stupidly decamped to APC, claiming he wanted to get close to the center. And in getting close to the center, his people are being killed and decimated. Nothing has been done about it. And to show you how wicked and clueless your leaders are, he goes to address people who have been dealt a heavy blow, and you're carrying an APC with you. You're inside the APC party, you're entering the APC vehicle. And you know, it's becoming laughing stock. Honestly speaking. Listen, what is playing out in Plateau State with the governor is exactly what played out in Imo State. At the point in time, the governor of Imo State, when you have this unknown gunmen, couldn't go to anywhere without being inside an APC. Another state governor came and said, "Oh, we want sit at home to be cancelled." Yes, everybody wants it to be cancelled. But the question is, are you providing security for the people? You go to the market, you carry about 100 and 200 policemen, GSS, everything, and then you leave the ordinary people. Our leaders are so wicked, honestly speaking. Nigeria is a country where the leaders, right from birth, they're wicked. They do not have any atom of empathy for the people they call their citizens.
Wicked right from birth?
Yes. And if you join them tomorrow, it means that from birth you are wicked.
No, because it is okay, because it looks like it's the system that made them wicked.
What system? The system they steal from, is it the system that made them to be thieves?
You don't think so?
Is it the system that made them to be corrupt?
You don't think so?
It's not the system. It is who they are, what they want to be.
The system doesn't pay back consequences. The system doesn't punish. Don't you think that's why we have all of this going?
Let me tell you the truth. If we want Nigeria to work, I just said it a few minutes ago. If we want Nigeria to work, take the Bible, take the Quran, keep them aside. Let us go back to the traditional way of doing things. Those who want to be governors in their states should swear with the deity of their states. And you will see if things will not change. How can you, on the day of your birthday, your people are killed? Not one word from the president. Not one word. And everywhere is quiet. Suddenly, the people living in IDP camps are now being dashed food. Somebody claims they gave them money. Is that what they want? What Nigerians want today is to go back, those in IDP camps, to go back to their ancestral homes.
Okay.
Without one eye opened. We want to be walking on the street without looking back and forth.
All right.
That's what we want.
That's what we want. Now, please, let's interrogate a few things that happened around the Plateau right now. The governor has declared a curfew, 2 days curfew. Do you think that will... How
do you declare curfew when your people are not armed? You declare curfew when they're not state, there's no security. What has he done as a governor in terms of setting up, even if it's a quasi vigilante?
It's wrong doing that. Entirely the point. Now, my question is, what is the curfew meant to do? What solution is it meant to provide? So that the people will not, like you said,
doesn't want the people to protest.
But the people defy the curfew and
exactly. So for me, it's just see, it's when you have clueless people as leaders, you cannot have anything now. What comes out of it? It's unfortunate that with all the things God has given Nigeria, the only thing God took away from Nigeria is men and women can be this country. I tell people, I said, have you not noticed abroad in Europe, the churches are empty. The churches are empty not because the people don't want to pray, not because people don't believe in God. Churches are becoming empty because the things that people need to run to church to pray for, the government has provided. There's electricity, good health system, good roads, everything. So the reason why you have churches filled and mosques filled in Nigeria is because we pray. As we're in the studio now, I'm sure some people are praying. Let them be light. Let them be light. Let them not take light. That's it. That's how bad it is. You're driving on the road, you're in the night, you're praying. Let me not jam pothole.
praise.
You go to the hospitals, you are praying. Let them be simple blows.
Please, before we go to the virtual guests, let's do a further interrogation. Now, the community itself, Anguan, Rukuba, it's not a rural community because I understand that it's close to. There are some students, University of Jos students that live around that area, and so because of the incident, the university had to put up the exams, slated for yesterday and today. Now, if we have these things in Just North, the history of Just North, between the indigenous and the settlers. For how many years? Close to 40 years now, the issue in Just North has not been resolved up to this moment. If we have all of these things, you can say that Yawata, Yawata, it's a rural community. Then we see these things creep into the city center. That tell you
it tells you
intelligence.
It tells you that your security architecture is grinding to a halt. It tells you that non-state actors are becoming more vicious. And that's what it tells you. And they're becoming more vicious and more daring. They're not scared of anything anymore. You saw what happened in Kwara. You saw what happened in Niger State. You saw what happened in Medjugorje. So they're becoming more vicious by the day. And what are we doing about it?
What are we doing about it? That's the big question. Let's bring Elvis Limehele into the conversation. He joins us virtually. Good morning to you. Well, we have Elvis Limehele online with us. I've just been informed that he is online. Good morning to you. Well, Elvis Limehele is a public affairs commentator, and we'll love to get his view on this one. Well, I guess we'll wait to rectify that connection. Meanwhile, let me ask you this question, Prince Francis Chilaka. Let me ask you this question. Talking about intelligence, Nigeria has opened up its arms to welcome the United States in a relationship that is supposed to better our military personnel and military activities. There are about 200 of them on ground to help give us intelligence. And Nigeria has also reached out to France to get weapons. So we're getting intelligence from France, from US, getting weapons from France. But yet, from December 25, 2025, up until now, March 31, March 31, 2026, we've seen the activities of these bandits double down. It has, some say, triple, massive killings. Where this took place in Jos is the city center, no longer at the hinterlands. It's now in the city center. What is wrong with the intelligence that we are getting? Or what is wrong The body described what we have as intelligence congestion, which basically speaks to the fact that there's too much intelligence coming in, but reaction to it, the reactionary measures to the intelligence coming in is the problem. How can we solve this?
You talked about Nigeria opening up to US and in terms of intelligence gathering, because that's what the government said to us. And then they're reaching out to France for arms. But nobody's talking about the manpower.
We don't have the name.
Nobody's talking about the personnel. Nobody's talking about how these guys are motivated. It starts from there. You get the best out of people when you motivate them right. How many Nigerian soldiers do you think today would beat their chest and say they are proud to die for Nigeria? How many? You heard about, I think it's a Lance Corporal who got dismissed because he did a video calling on the political leaders that their children should come and join the army. Nigeria has become a country where you can criticize the government and go scot-free. It's what happened in Niger State. You have a country where you've heard a Sheikh Gumi come out and tell you, oh, this bandits, this terrorists, they are brothers. You had a country where the National Security Advisor has come to re-echo that. And then the recent one, the Army General who came out and said the same thing. Now, the Minister of Defense is saying, oh, he was misquoted. And I said, how did you misquote me? I'm here talking to you. And then after I finish, I go out. And then somebody writes his slip and said, no, it was misquoted. The carrot and stick approach in dealing with this thing is not working.
Do we have the carrot?
That's what they're doing.
What does the carrot?
Because it's not working. You can't look at somebody who has killed people, raped our women.
What do you make of the governor's stand asking the people not to take laws into their hands?
The governors are drunk. No. It is time we begin to tell our governors the truth.
Let's be mindful.
No, it's time we begin to tell. These people are taking this place, they're taking Nigeria for granted for too long.
Let's be mindful.
How can people be killed and you're telling them not to take laws into their hands? You say to your Moses, if somebody comes into your house to come and kill your family, will you just stand by and watch? Will you stand by and watch? Nobody wants to be killed. And nobody will sit idly and watch his own family killed. Sometimes I think our governors have lost it, most of our governors.
You think is it that they've lost it, or there's other conversation behind closed doors that hinders them from doing what they have been elected to?
Who elected them?
Protect? Well, it's the people. The people elected.
So the people elected them, and the people are being killed, and you're keeping quiet. See, the day this country will bust, nobody will be scared. Nobody. The killings in Nigeria is getting out of hand.
The Senate leader is fast-tracking the state police narrative. Do you think that that's
state police is see? Let me tell you, state police is not going to solve this problem. I've given you.
I was even about to ask the issue of motivation that you mentioned, because we've been putting forward the state police like it's going to be the answer, but with no motivation, like you have rightly cited. You think with state police, because even the people are saying that, look, if they have the authority to bear arms, being members of the state police force, they might be able to respond faster in defense of their people. You think
let me say this: we're putting round pegs
in square holes.
And it's not working. If this government, this APC, is being sincere with state police, start the issue of state policing from the federal.
How do you mean?
In Lagos today, we have a commissioner of police from, I think it's either from Mushin or Abidi. So he has a batai. So he understands the terrain. He understands the language. He understands the tradition and culture of the people. It will be easy for him to be able to effectively police the state. What do you think will happen if you go and bring somebody from Katsina State, Lagos State as commissioner?
So in essence, Lagos is doing it right.
Well, the IGP has done it right with Lagos. Do the same with other states. It will help you to test whether the state policing you're looking forward to will work or not. I'm telling you the truth. When you test it, you will not know how effective the state policing you're talking about will be. Because somebody's talking about state policing, the one you have at the federal level, how are you taking care of them? The instruction the president gave late last year that all policemen should be, called from VIP escort. Have they done it? Have they done it? Meanwhile, your IG who set up a committee is already telling Nigerians how he's going to deploy 60% of the federal police to the state. What's the figure? We have less than 400 police officers.
Prince, you heard what the chief of defense staff for the year said about these people being prodigal sons, that we should let it not be tit for tat. If you have the chief of defense staff telling you that terrorists should more like apparently making case for their reintegration into society and all of that, how do you react to that?
When you don't know the Bible, you just put it as if it's literature. What is said in the Bible regarding the prodigal son has no relevance in the issue. The prodigal son did not steal. The prodigal son did not steal. He took his own share. That's what the Bible says. He asked for his own share of the inheritance, and he went and squandered it.
Now, what impact will that have on the men who are taking orders to fight?
So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying to you.
When they hear their chief of defense staff say, "Look, let's give this guy some leeway. They're prodigal sons. Let's take them back. If they come back, take them back."
The chief of defense staff, due respect to him, he doesn't understand the meaning of being prodigal. If he understands the meaning of being prodigal, he won't make a reference to the Bible.
Do you think he was acting under pressure?
What kind of pressure? The truth of the matter is, this is a simple thing.
When you say what kind of pressure, sorry,
this is a simple thing. Okay. Everybody has given you a solution to this. It says, kill them off. And that's you can say, forget and forget. And I will ask you, what about the bruises? And that's the question.
Yes, the scars will stay.
Yes.
The scars will stay, most definitely. But when Christopher Musa was chief of defense staff, he basically was eating fire, talked about how these bandits can be overrun. And, he spoke a lot, and Nigerians fell in love with him. He attended, he was at interviews abroad and the rest of it. And Nigerians felt, yes. So when he was appointed minister, Nigerians felt, yes, this was a round peg in a round hole. Nigerians had confidence that something would be done in that area. Insecurity would be dealt with, because now he would not have to take orders from anybody per se. He will be the one giving out the orders. And if he was passionate then, he will be more effective now. But we've seen a shift in the narrative. He's attending the APC convention and the rest of them. He's more partisan. He's more of a politician than anything else. And so, with the new chief of defense staff out in this room, don't you think there's some sort of pressure somewhere? Like my colleague
What's this?
Political
Do you expect a serving general in the Nigerian army to be answerable to a retired general?
I I expect a service general.
Have you ever asked yourself?
I expect a service general in a democracy to be answerable to a minister.
Have you ever asked yourself this question? Why is it that if you appoint a major general today as chief of defense staff, chief of army staff, why do you retire all the generals?
No, that's a different thing.
No, why do you retire them? Because you don't. It's not about democracy. It's about the way the military is set up. If you are out of the military, my brother, you are out.
Well, I know a lot of people disagree with this.
No, but as a proof,
narrative.
go on, ask. I have a lot of friends who are generals.
Okay, so are you?
And I'm telling you that when you talk to them, they will tell you that the moment you leave, you are nobody. You are a bloody civilian.
Prince Francis Chalaka, are you insinuating that what is going on, the breaking communication or the seeming breaking communication is as a result of insubordination?
I don't know what you mean by insubordination.
No, I mean if you're not answering,
I'm just
how is retired. Isn't that insubordination?
I think we made one big mistake. That mistake we made is we just assume that the military under democracy will listen to anybody.
But that's what it should be.
That's what it should be. But are we practicing democracy in Nigeria?
What was that?
Are we practicing democracy?
That's what we're practicing.
It is when the system is working that people fall into it.
Prince, I want to.
What system are we practicing in Nigeria today?
Democracy.
By what? Democracy is it the democracy as defined for the people, by the people, or democracy as defined by the Nigerian politicians?
We could say it's Nigerian style democracy. We
haven't started.
Okay, we haven't started. Ambassador is advocating for African style democracy. I want us to return to the issue of pressure. Now, do you think that the chief of defense staff came out in that fashion, because he probably was told, well, why don't you just pipe it low? Let's see how 2027 will pan out and all of that. Because some people are also saying that, well, that the president made a deal with these people. Like, the president doesn't want to offend the North. You recall at some point when Buhari was head of state, in fact, before he became head of state, when Ikendirika went out, onslaught, to kill off these people, the terrorists. It was Buhari that at that time said, yeah, people are killing my people. Any attack against Boko Haram is an attack against the North. And this man tells you, look, I'm going to continue from where Buhari stopped. So do you think that, let me come out to say that some people have said, well, the president wouldn't do anything up until 2027 when he probably wins re-election. Do you think that the way that the army generals are acting is somehow being politically driven or what?
Okoro.
Yes, sir.
This government started campaigning for 2027 when they were small. So let us leave that aside. The North that you're talking about, who is filling the page? It's the North. The Northern senators are complaining. They're not keeping quiet. The only people that are not complaining in the North are those who, how would I say, people who are benefiting more from banditry and whatever is going on.
Those are the power brokers.
They need the power brokers. The president has more power to take them out. But the president doesn't have the political to do that.
Do you know that some kingmakers are more powerful than the king?
The president doesn't have the political to do that.
If he doesn't have,
how do you expect people living in IDP camp to vote APC
if he doesn't have the political will to do that, doesn't it suggest that he is beholden to the kingmakers?
Who are the kingmakers? Your president came out and told you that he didn't go for his house, he has no godfather. So it should show us what it means not to have a godfather. When we talk about what is happening in the North, I'm telling you, it is creeping down to the South. We may sit down here and say, oh, we are comfortable. No, but it is coming to us. And that is why we are screaming and shouting that the government must wake up to our responsibility. forget politics and face the fact that the citizens who they expect to go out and vote are being killed on a daily basis.
Would you describe the president as lacking political will or lacking capacity? Which one?
The president has what it takes to be a politician, but also has what it takes to be a leader. That's my assessment. Put me there. Being a politician, I came to him. But being a leader, I've not said that. And what we need is a leader who leads and people follow. Sometimes we'll sit down and say, we'll sing that for this. Tiger Asia, Tiger this. But how did they start? It wasn't that the people. It was having an articulate and vision leader who says this thing has to move. And he wakes up in the morning, he wears his jeans, wears his t-shirt, puts on the first cap, and picks up a shovel and starts to do. The people will follow suit. That's the kind of leader we want in this country, as Nigeria today. Not a leader that will sit down at home and drinking and laughing, that would wake up from sleep and say, oh, the national grid has been collapsing. Let us leave the national grid. A country where hospitals are not working. Nothing is working in Nigeria as of today.
These bandits and terrorists have doubled down since the Christmas Day bombing. And some critics, in fact, pundits actually say that it could just be an affront because of the United States' involvement in the Nigerian security crisis. So do you think that this might become maybe something much more bigger than we can handle because the US has indicated interest and is on the Nigerian soil?
No. I think even those who are saying that are not being sincere. The question we should ask ourselves is what kind of different, what kind of room has the government given to the American soldiers that are in Nigeria? You say, oh, they're not here for combat. They're here for intelligence
and support.
It brings us back to what I said about state police and the federal police. Who is providing them with intelligence? Who? I remember a few days ago, sometime last week or so, a society, a group, an NGO, talked about this issue of killing. I said the Nigerian government should do something about it. They have intel. So if an NGO has an intel that the army does not have, and the police does not have, and the national security does not have, what are we doing? In the last how many months, the Americans have been in Nigeria. What kind of intel are they getting?
All right, Prince, let me ask you this question. It's more like a broad question. I had the opportunity to interview General Gowon at some point when I missed it. I will ask you this question.
So now you're asking
it's a process.
I want you're asking a civilian general.
As an analyst, I would like for you to, open a window, General Gowon is one that fought, the 20 months of war to put this country together. You are very familiar with the history of that war. Now, most of the killings, are happening in his region, his home state, Plateau State, his sister state, Benue State, and all of that. It's not spread. In fact, all of Middle Belt, what do you think is going through Gowon's mind? Having in mind or understanding that the people that are killing these people are the people on whose behalf he speaks.
Well, if you ask me that question, I'm not the general, but I'll tell you that I'm sure he must be regretting it. I'm sure those who came together and said, no, we want to stay together as one nation must be regretting it. But they don't have the political will. You see, let us have a referendum. Let us open up this country. And let us see what is really, really affecting this. country where children are out of school, most especially a country where drug is becoming like sweet on the street, a country where families are no longer together because of hardship, because of poverty. So everybody, those who believe in Nigeria, those who are patriotic about Nigeria, I think they are all dead.
Well, we'll continue to x-ray this. We hope that we will find a way out or compel our leaders to take the right action. Well, thank you very much, Prince Francis, for that. Hold that statement of another conversation. Developing economies, debt service payments outstrip foreign support states coming from Wale. Let's x-ray this when we come back. Stay with us.
Thank you. Let's wait for the update for the Iraqi-United States of American war.
And nobody said better equipment. Nobody said more comfortable living conditions. Nobody said send me home. Well, of course, eventually we want all those things. They do too. But what those Americans said to me, young and old, officer and NCO, male and female, black and white, was let's finish the mission. Get us even more bombs, bigger bombs, more targets. Let us finish.
This is the latest update for the US-Israel-Iran war.
The 3 Air Force captains shot down by Kuwaiti-friendly fire early in the fight weeks ago. They never left the theater. All dropped bombs over Tehran last night. These men and women live the Iranian threat every day, incoming missiles and drones, and know what the world looks like, what the world would look like if Iran had the most dangerous weapons in the world, a nuclear weapon. As President Trump has said time and time again for years, and in this administration, Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb, and they won't. These troops, they want to finish this fight for their kids and their grandkids. This is about history. This is about legacy. Success matters. And because of this president and these Americans, they're closer than ever before to winning. President Trump is doing what no other president had the guts to do. Previous presidents were all talk. He's all action. On the battlefield, because of the latitude the president has given us, American firepower is only increasing. Iran's decreasing. We have more and more options, and they have less. Just 1 month in, only 1 month, we set the terms. The upcoming days will be decisive. Iran knows that, and there's almost nothing they can militarily do about it. Yes, they will still shoot some missiles, but we will shoot them down. Of note, the last 24 hours saw the lowest number of enemy missiles and drones fired by Iran. They will go underground, but we will find them. We recently destroyed another one of their command bunkers. Leaders forced to flee. No water, no power, no oxygen, no command and control. Their faith in their caves diminishing. The latest intel is clear out of CENTCOM. Our strikes are damaging the morale of the Iranian military, leading to widespread desertions, key personnel shortages, and causing frustrations amongst senior leaders. Just last night, we had 200 dynamic strikes alone. Dynamic strike is a strike where a pilot leaves, and during their flight, they get a new target set based on real-time intel given to them. A new launcher, a new location, a new troop formation. A dynamic target is one that changes while you're in the air because of improved intelligence. 200 dynamic strikes alone, in addition to the pre-planned targets. The video the president posted last night of Esfahan, an ammo depot struck by U.S. bombers. You see, you don't get to see many of those videos because, as a reminder, Iran has still shut off the internet to 99.9% of its population. But if Iran is wise, they will cut a deal. President Trump doesn't bluff and he does not back down. You can ask Khomeini about that. The new Iranian regime should know that by now. This new regime, because regime change has occurred, should be wiser than the last. President Trump will make a deal he is willing. And the terms of the deal are known to them. If Iran is not willing, then the United States War Department will continue with even more intensity. Standing here this morning in this briefing room, in my mind's eye, I'm actually looking out at the groups I met this weekend. The pilots, the logisticians, the intel analysts, the targeters, the sustainers, the flight crews, the air defenders, the base security, those maintainers who we walked up at sunset with the chill in the air on the flight line. May God watch over all of them each day and each night. May his almighty and eternal arms of providence stretch over them and protect them and bring them peace. In the name of Jesus Christ. And amen. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Good morning, everyone, and thank you again for being here. As operations continue, I remain deeply grateful for the service and determination of 2.8 million members of our joint force, each of whom are serving something greater than themselves. Every day, those deployed, and in many cases, those at home, who are deploying forward, and bomber pulses and others put themselves in harm's way, and we owe them a deep debt of gratitude. I remain especially grateful for our fallen who gave the ultimate sacrifice. We'll never forget their valor and their determination to do something greater than themselves. And each day we continue to earn what they've given to us. This morning I want to share that yesterday the Joint Force had the honor of participating in the burial of Colonel Clarence Emil Bud Anderson, who passed away in May of 2024 at the ripe old age of 102. He was laid to rest in Arlington Cemetery yesterday morning alongside his wife of 70 years, Eleanor, who he married on February 23rd, 1945. She passed away in 2015 at the age of 92. Bud, yesterday, a legend to our Air Force and fighter pilots everywhere, was honored with a combination flyby of F-35s and a 4-ship of P-51 Mustangs. Mustangs. He was one of the most prolific flying aces of World War II and the highest scoring P-51 ace with 16 and a quarter kills in his squadron and in his group. And he served from 1942 to 1972. And his last combat tour was flying F-104 Thunder Chiefs over North Vietnam. For anyone that had the chance to meet Colonel Anderson, you knew what an incredibly special man he was. And that's true for each and every one of our World War II vets who become fewer and fewer with each passing day. They are the greatest generation and give us the gift of an incredible example as we execute Operation Epic Fury today. And Colonel Anderson, we mourn for your loss and remember that smile on the right side as you went out to do our nation's business. I'd like to now share an operational update. Our joint force continues to focus on our military objectives as we systematically continue to degrade and destroy Iran's ability to project power and threaten stability beyond its borders. First, the Joint Force continues to destroy Iran's ballistic missile and UAS capabilities. We remain focused on interdicting and destroying the logistical and supply chains that feed these programs. And this remains a truly joint effort prosecuted around the clock from air, land, sea, space, and cyberspace. Long-range bombers from U.S. Strategic Command are coordinating with tactical fighter aircraft from our joint force launched from bases around the region and the continental United States, while simultaneously Navy fighters from the sea and sailors continue to project power from the sea, while Army and Marine artillery units continue to execute long-range precision fires deep into enemy territory against high-value targets. Meanwhile, on the defense side, our Army and air defenders and aviators, as the Secretary talked about, remain vigilant, forming a shield to protect our forces and our partners, intercepting missiles and drones. Together, we continue to deliver precision strikes against key manufacturing nodes, component storage sites, research facilities deep within Iranian territory. And over the past 30 days, we've struck more than 11,000 targets. Given the increase in air superiority, we've successfully started to conduct the first overland B-52 missions, which allow us, as we've said before, to continue to get on top of the enemy. And as the Secretary talked about, switch towards more and more dynamic targets, servicing mobile targets around the battle space. We've continued to do the work against Iran's missile, drone, and naval production facilities, and we continue the multi-domain pressure that we've talked about. Second, on the Navy front, we continue to assert dominance over the Iranian Navy. We remain focused on targeting their mine laying capability, their naval assets, and we've now, as I mentioned briefly last time, started to work attack helicopters and other close air support assets into the naval domain. CENTCOM continues to identify and work against naval depots and storage areas. We've taken out, again, more than 150 ships, including all Jamaran-class frigates inside their Navy. Third, we continue to prosecute our campaign against our defense industrial base at scale. This includes factories, warehouses, nuclear weapons research and development labs, and the associated infrastructure required for Iran to reconstitute its combat capability. I'd like to continue my theme of highlighting the incredible contributions of Americans to our joint force. Today, I want to talk a little bit about a different front line, a line that doesn't have bunkers or guard posts, but is just as critical to our nation's security, our National Assembly lines. Today, I want to recognize a group of Americans who live at the beginning of our nation's combat power, the Americans who actually make our weapons, both inside our defense industrial base, but even more broadly inside our national industrial base. In every military option, we could not and cannot do our jobs without the men and women across our country who show up every day around the clock to a factory floor, a workshop, a laboratory, who build the weapons and capabilities we need to project American combat power at the time and place of our choosing. These great Americans, and I've had a chance to spend some time with them when I was in the private sector, are the core of American combat power. They're the machinists running high-tech CNC machines, cutting raw blocks of metal into incredibly precise parts. They're the assembly workers painstakingly taking a kit of parts and turning that into a complex guidance system or precision munition or a rocket motor or building a jet or submarine. Or they're quality assurance technicians who ensure that when a warfighter pulls a trigger, the weapon works every time. This can be and is tough and gritty work. It's not a quiet office and a desk with paper, and there's nothing wrong with that, but this is exactly the way this group of Americans likes it. I know this. I've seen it myself, and I remain deeply honored by that gift. It's often loud and dangerous work, demanding, requires absolute focus for hours at a time with deep commitment to get it right every single time. It's hands-on work where one uncaught mistake or deviation can put an American's life at risk. A single misplaced wire, a microscopic flaw in a weld, incorrectly calibrated sensor could mean the difference between mission success or mission failure. The difference is measured in the lives of our sons and daughters who we put out around the field and on the field of battle. We rely on and trust in these great Americans, and it's not just their manufacturing skill, it's their innovative minds and their entrepreneurial spirit. From those who build exquisite capabilities down to the mom and pop machine shops all over this great country, they live at the beginning of and the core of America's combat capability, constantly adapting, constantly improving, constantly learning. And there are examples of this throughout history and current days, to include building things like the F-117 stealth fighter, the B-2 stealth bomber, making our combat capability undetectable over the enemy, to today's B-21 and F-47. It's work like in the shipyards of the East Coast and Northeast side of the United States that go out and build America's nuclear submarines that allow us to patrol around the world at the time and place of our choosing. These innovators, these workers, these incredible Americans don't get the same glory as a fighter pilot returning to a carrier deck at night or an artilleryman sending rounds downrange, and yet they show up every single day, and without them, we could not do the work that we are tasked to do. 24/7, they build the tools that we need to do our business. The skill, the commitment, the patriotism, the dedication poured into every piece of combat capability and hardware is seen and felt out at the edge of the force, as the Secretary talked about those young bomb builders out in the desert that he had the chance to see. You can see it, you can feel it, and it's real, and we're deeply grateful. So to the American workforce out there, both inside our defense industrial base and in our national industrial base, thank you on behalf of the Joint Force. We carry the weapons that you build. We rely on the systems that you create, and the distance from that factory floor and that assembly line to the front line is incredibly short. Thank you. Keep it up. And to our adversaries out there, I remind you to beware of the American workforce. We continue to press forward in our military objectives. The Secretary and I remain deeply humbled by the spirit, tenacity, commitment, and grit of our 2.8 million member strong Joint Force. I want to, as always, thank the force and their families, and as always, remember our fallen. We carry with them and their names every day. Sir, I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two things. He didn't note it, but in memory of Colonel Bud Anderson, the chairman himself flew his F-16 to honor him recently. And thank you for highlighting the Defense Industrial Base, the Arsenal of Freedom. It's worth noting no one has rebuilt that Defense Industrial Base faster and with more purpose than President Trump in his first term. And now we're rebuilding the Arsenal of Freedom. Our Defense Industrial Base is more vibrant today than it's been since World War II and growing rapidly. Contrast that with Iran, whose Defense Industrial Base is nearly completely destroyed. Their ability to reconstitute the weapons of war they're using now that they're hiding in underground facilities and attriting over time, their ability to rebuild that is negligible. And I think that contrast is an enduring legacy of this as well. Right here.
We've had some signaling that the U.S. will retake control of the Strait of Hormuz. At that point, what military posture will be imposed to guarantee safe passage for our allies, deter our enemies, and demonstrate U.S. dominance in the region? And also, can you speak to how much America's adversaries, Russia, China, North Korea, how much they're supporting Iran's war machine at this point with arms and intelligence, and what we are militarily doing to punish the enemy coalition?
Appreciate both questions. On the Strait of Hormuz, there are many more vessels flowing through today than there were, as the president has arranged. The president's been clear to Iran, open it for business, or we have options, and we certainly do. And when you look at what the chairman laid out with the Navy industrial base, with coastal cruise missiles, with UAVs, with counter mine capabilities, we've been focused from the beginning on attritting and defeating those capabilities and limiting their options. There's lots we're doing as well, some to set the conditions. And I think the president was clear this morning in his truth, that there are countries around the world who ought to be prepared to step up on this critical waterway as well. It's not just the United States Navy. Last time I checked, there was supposed to be a big bad Royal Navy that could be prepared to do things like that as well. So he's pointing out this is an international waterway that we use less than most, in fact, dramatically less than most. So the world ought to pay attention and be prepared to stand up. President Trump's been willing to do the heavy lifting on behalf of the free world to address this threat of Iran. It's not just our problem set going forward, even though we have done the lion's share of preparation to ensure that that strait will be open, which is an outcome the president's been very clear on. As far as Russia and China, we know exactly what they're doing, what they are or are not doing. We don't have to air publicly what all of that is, but where necessary, we're addressing it, we're mitigating it, or we're confronting it head on. I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
No, sure. I think you covered it.
Timeline for operability in the strait?
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. David here, Real America's Voice. And I witnessed that enthusiasm on the lines and our submarine builders and the ironworks. It's unbelievable. But I just wanted to ask you, what's the status of the delivery of any hardened bunkers for additional protection for our troops? And without getting too specific, what kind of measures are we taking to protect some of the larger, more strategic aircraft like a Sentry and other?
Well, it's a great question. I'll say what I witnessed where I went was a completely locked in discipline of bunker use and bunker improvement. So from the beginning, as we stated very clearly, the first thing we did was set up a defense and make sure our defensive capabilities were maxed out before any of this even started. That included fortifications as much as possible, but it also included disbursement. If all of our people are in one place, you can imagine why that's a big problem. So dispersing is part of that defeat. Alongside that disbursement is more and more bunkers. And I can tell you, talking to base commanders, talking to our allies in Israel, talking to others, rapidly fielding that and then improving those positions is a theater priority, no doubt, as are the air defenses and the layered air defenses. It's not just Patriots and THAADs, it's fighters and defensive caps, it's other kinetic defeat systems, it's electronic warfare. So the defense of our troops and our assets is max. I will say on some of those other assets you talked about, air wings, airframes, there's some things adversaries are doing to provide info and intel that they shouldn't. We're aware of it, and ultimately we move things around and don't. One of the biggest principles you learn in the military is to not set patterns, predictable patterns, and so commanders are working hard to adjust in real time with those systems to make sure they're in the right places and not easily targetable. Enjoy.
Thanks, Mr. Secretary. The U.S. and Iran appear right now publicly to disagree about whether there are these negotiations ongoing. And the president wrote yesterday that the U.S. might destroy Iran's electricity generating plants and oil wells. Those are his words before ending this operation. Is there a way to do either of those things without seriously jeopardizing or seriously harming civilians?
So on the talks, I can tell you, having been with Steve and Jared and the Vice President and Marco and many others yesterday, they are very real. They are ongoing. They're active, and I think gaining strength. And we appreciate that. As I said in my remarks, we would much prefer, again, if Iran was willing to relinquish material they have and ambitions they have. Openness is great. That's the goal. We don't want to have to do more militarily than we have to. But I didn't mean it flippantly when I said, in the meantime, we'll negotiate with bombs. Our job is to ensure that we compel Iran to realize that this new regime, this regime in charge, is in a better place if they make that deal. And so we'll continue. We're working hand in hand, but the primary effort is a deal. We want that deal to be accomplished if at all possible. If not, then we're prepared to continue.
What happened in Palestine?
Yeah. Thanks for the question. We're always thinking about those considerations and develop options to be able to mitigate those risks pursuant to the normal practices that we do in the military. So.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I know you slightly addressed this already, but just on the Strait of Hormuz, is opening the strait an essential objective to Operation Epic Fury, or is that the job of those other countries? And then secondly, without asking you to comment on things that you can't talk about, what is your message to Americans who love the president and strongly believe in him, but are very worried about this notion of boots on the ground?
Well, first on the Strait of Hormuz, our core objectives from this podium, from day one, from me, from the chairman, from the president, from the vice president, from Secretary Rubio and others have been clear. Defense missile production and missile programs, so their entire missile program, defense industrial base and production ability to build, and Navy and power projection. So those have been, and then of course, wrapping it all is Iran's never going to have a nuclear weapon. So those have been very clear. Defeating the Navy is a core part of ensuring they can't project that kind of power. But ultimately, I think the president's truth this morning lays that out very well, that this Strait of Hormuz issue, which we've set the conditions for success, and we will make sure Iran knows that very clearly, is not just a United States of America problem set. We've been willing to lead. President Trump's led the entire time, but it's not just us. So ultimately, I think other countries should pay attention when the president speaks. He's proven that when he speaks, he means something. And he's pointing out, might want to start learning how to fight for yourself. It's something some of us have been saying for quite some time. You can't just have flags, you have to have formations. You can't just have a few ships, you have enough to affect change. Those things matter in a dangerous world with ascendant adversaries. That's why the chairman's talking about our industrial base. That's why we're launching the Arsenal of Freedom tour to revive our defense industrial base. President Trump doing it in a way that nobody else has. As far as President Trump and boots on the ground, I don't understand why the base, which they have already, they understand, wouldn't have faith in his ability to execute on this. Look at his track record of pursuing peace through strength, America first outcomes. And what he's simply saying is exactly true, and I've said from this podium too, we're not going to foreclose any option. You can't fight and win a war if you tell your adversary what you are willing to do or what you are not willing to do, to include boots on the ground. Our adversary right now thinks there are 15 different ways we could come at them with boots on the ground. And guess what? There are. So if we needed to, we could execute those options on behalf of the President of the United States and this department. Or maybe we don't have to use them at all. Maybe negotiations work, or maybe there's a different approach. The point is to be unpredictable in that. Certainly not let anybody know what you're willing to do or not do. But if anybody has internalized the lessons of Iraq and Afghanistan, as the first one, President Trump, to call them out for what they are, he's not going to repeat those lessons. And I think I've been very clear about that from the podium.
Thank you, Secretary Hexeth. A question for you and then a question for General Kane. You said we're a month into the Operation Epic Fury. How long until the objectives are achieved? And is there a scenario where a deal is struck before the objectives have been achieved? And then for General Kane, there's been lots of media coverage that suggested a ground invasion is imminent. What other purposes might the soldiers and the Marines who have been deployed over to the Middle East serve in this conflict?
Well, just like the previous question, sort of military 101. Don't tell your enemy what you're willing to do or not do. And don't tell your enemy when you're willing to stop. Especially an enemy that likes to hide in bunkers and try to hoard their missiles and hope he'll wait you out. So that's not a question I'm going to answer or the president has said definitively. We have our own goals and guidance and things military objectives that we're moving toward and things that we look at. And as he's articulated, he said 4 to 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, 3, it could be any particular number, but we would never reveal precisely what it is because our goal is to finish those objectives. And we're well on our way. And the chairman and I look at this every single day. It will be the president's determination and the president's determination alone when those objectives are complete and when it serves the interests of the American people to cut that deal, to make sure that Iran doesn't have a nuclear capability and ultimately that our objectives, our interests are advanced. I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, just to answer your question, Reagan, the range of military options that those forces can offer are extensive, not just limited to what you mentioned in terms of forces on the ground. And I wouldn't want to take away the president's decision space, but there are a multitude of things, not the least of which is Iran should note that they're out there and that they are a pressure point. And so they should carefully consider, I think, at the diplomatic level, not my job as a chairman, but at the diplomatic level to consider what's in front of them.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, the U.S. government, I see, says for many years that Iran is protecting Al-Qaeda senior leaders, including the current leader, Saif al-Idol. Does the U.S. assess that he's still in Iran? Has he fled to Afghanistan? Is he on a target list? And Mr. Chairman, based on CENTCOM figures and open source, Iranian daily missile barrages and drone launches have indeed dropped dramatically since the start of the war, but they're not at zero. And they seem to have maintained some level of low but stable numbers. Perhaps they've dropped a little bit more in recent days. How do we get that closer to zero? And what impact is Iran's degraded but still very real capability impacting current and future operations?
So I won't speak to a particular target. I'll just say that Al-Qaeda remains our enemy, obviously. And there are a lot of people on our target list in Iran. And if they were to be harboring Al-Qaeda, they would certainly fit that list.
Just quickly, the mobile targets that they have that we continue to service, as the Secretary talked about, the 200 hits that were done last night, that's one component of continuing to lower that. The second and more long-term impact that we're having is the strikes against their defense industrial base at scale, which will not allow them to reload after that. So we do continue to see a trend down. They are still shooting. We do continue to exert significant pressure against both sides of that system.
Secretary, thank you for the question. Do you still believe, you said previously that the Iranian leadership would surrender? Do you still believe that? And is the United States still committed to NATO's collective defense? And to Chairman King, could you give us a sense of your thinking about the legality of striking desalinization plants if the president were to order that?
I would just say that any mission that ends on our terms, call it a surrender, call it a defeat, call it what you want, we remain committed to it. A conflict that ends on our terms and the president's terms. There's no doubt about that. And as far as NATO is concerned, that's a decision that will be left to the president. But I'll just say a lot has been laid bare. A lot has been shown to the world about what our allies would be willing to do for the United States of America when we undertake an effort of this scope on behalf of the free world. These are missiles that don't even range the United States of America. They range allies and others. And yet when we ask for additional assistance or simple access spacing and overflight, we get questions or roadblocks or hesitations. And the president's pointing out, you don't have much of an alliance if you have countries that are not willing to stand with you when you need them. He's simply pointing that out. And ultimately, it'll be his decision on what that looks like after this is complete.
I won't talk about any particular target. This really builds on Jillian's question, too, that I don't think I completely answered. But, the joint force is the most professional force in the world. And we have numerous processes and systems to carefully consider the whole range of considerations, from civilian risk to legal considerations with any target. And as targets come before us, we run them through the same process that we always do and always strike lawful targets in accordance with the normal procedures that we use.
No order, no mercy for enemy combatants. As like such as
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you. I appreciate it. On Sunday, President Trump said that Iran's first regime was all destroyed and the second one is mostly dead. And the third regime that we're on right now has been much more reasonable in negotiations. Do you agree with that assessment and why?
I would defer to the negotiating team there.
they're the ones talking to him, but they're getting a back and forth on terms, which is a productive development. We stand right there next to our negotiating team, always willing and prepared to put them in an even better position. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We need peace, we choose freedom. We need peace, we choose freedom. There was a nation living in peace and unity. Yeah. They are people with love and harmony. Oh, yeah. They saw greatness rise up to its purity. With another people of different culture, Ideal heritage, bias and oppressive. Oh, I see. A nation from trigger of Africa, rising with strength and might and power. In due time, nobody gonna praise us. Rather, you all gonna embrace her. Wave your flag, wave your flag, wave your flag, wave your flag. Oh, yeah. Let the tears of our mothers who lost their children be heard. Let the blood of our heroes speak from now till forever. Let the whole wide world know Biafra is our home. Oh yeah, Biafra is our home. Oh, it's my home. Yeah, Biafra is our home.
I reminisce way back 1967. Death toll on the blood couldn't count them even. Mama screaming, child squealing, pops on the ground. 2.5 years, over 3 million's gone. Why? Cause we asked for our freedom, and we're going back to our sovereign kingdom. They shut us down when we cried, the world said nothing. Sitting back in the crib, watching our suffering. Should I talk about the planes dropping shells like rain? Suka had the first taste of a hero's blood. Abaganazo Bunigwe was stronger than flood, but the joke is too strong and fought them off on the chart. Thought the bloodshed's gone, then it came again. 216 and the massacre, it started again. So bloody name, I couldn't cry tears. Blood dripping down my eyes, water in my veins. We died trying to fight the cause and we're trying to break him. It's our freedom, but the world was against us.
Wave your flag over Africa. Welcome people of Biafra. Wave your flag over all the world. See those people of Zion is here.
It is the nation that the Lord has chosen for the people of Zion. It is the nation that the Lord has chosen for the people of Zion.
We need peace, we choose freedom. We need peace, we choose freedom. Yeah. Let the tears of our mothers who lost their children be heard. Let the blood of our heroes speak from now till forever. Let the whole wide world know Biafra is our home.